Good morning. Thanks for those who've joined us early. So it's just after 10 to 10 here in the UK. So we'll be getting started at 10 a.m. So if you bear with us for a few more minutes, we'll let everyone join. Thanks very much. Morning, everyone. Just a 5-minute warning. We'll be getting going just about 10 a.m. So if you hang with us for a few more minutes, we'll make a start. Morning, everybody. Thanks for those who have joined us already. And just a 2-minute warning before we get started. 2 minutes. Good morning, everyone. So I made that just after 10 a.m. So I think we'll make a start. So welcome to our latest webinar, which is UKCA Mark, what will the impact be on the hazardous area industry? So shortly, I'm going to hand you over to Terry from Thorne Derrick, and this is a joint webinar. So we'll be doing this in conjunction with Raytec and Thorne Derrick today. So Terry will give you a quick introduction to the webinar and some background on Thorne Derrick and how we work together at Raytec. And before we do that, I'm just going to quickly run through some housekeeping rules. So the webinar should last around 20 to 25 minutes this morning. We will have some time for questions at the end. You should see there's a questions panel on your questions section on your control panel, which you can use to type any questions in as we go. So feel free to type those in as we go through the webinar, and then, like I say, at the end we'll have some time to go through those and try and answer any questions you do have. So I'll hand you over now to Terry, who'll give you a quick introduction, and we'll speak later on when we do the question and answer. Terry. Terry, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Callum. Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. I'd first like to say thank you to everyone for signing up and registering to attend the webinar. I appreciate that everyone's busy, but I am confident that you'll find this to be a very valuable use of your time. My name is Terry MacDonald. I work for Thorne Derrick. I'm the Sales and Business Development Manager, and I've been here since 2005, so just over 16 years now. So I guess that means I'm doing something right or wrong, depending on which way you look at it. I can see on the attendee list, I'm pleased to welcome a range of existing clients, some of our suppliers, and also some new faces. I can see we've got contractors, OEMs, end users, and also fellow distributors attending. For those of you who don't know who Thorne Derrick are, I'll give you a very quick introduction. We're a family-owned company, established in 1985. And we have 2 UK branches, one in Bristol and one in Durham. About 30 employees, and we are a distributor of specialist electrical equipment with 3 core competencies. Number 1 is equipment for use in hazardous areas, 2, medium voltage to high voltage electrical equipment, and 3, process heating and electrical equipment for use in industrial and hazardous areas. The image that's on your screen does provide a quick overview of the product and services that we help with, and also a range of some of the EX manufacturers that we represent. Our aim is very much to add value to our client supply chain, and we work in close partnership with our key suppliers to try and bring innovation to the marketplace with a focus to improve safety, reliability and reduce costs. We also like to communicate and share best practice and safety changes which we feel will affect our clients, and this is part of the reason for having this webinar today. Brexit. Love it or loathe it, it's happened and the changes are happening. I certainly know some of our clients and suppliers have experienced problems with delivery times due to customs issues since January this year, but things do seem to be improving. Now, the UKCA mark is going to replace the CE mark, and it applies to a wide range of products that are placed onto the UK market. Now, this webinar is focusing on ATEX products and explosive atmospheres, but there are other changes to legislation covering other products such as measuring instruments, simple pressure vessels, and also LV electrical equipment. Now, Thorne Derrick aren't experts in those areas, but you might wish to look into it further and make your own provisions to assess the impact that it might have on your organisation. So the ATEX directive, which used to be nice and simple to say, is now changing somewhat and has been replaced with equipment and protective systems intended for use in potentially explosive atmosphere regulations 2016. So it's a bit more of a mouthful to say, and it's something that you all need to be aware of and get used to. And this guidance was issued in January 21, and the regulations actually also became a legal requirement on the 1st of January 2021. We do have a 12-month transition period. The changes are going to affect distributors like ourselves, resellers, OEMs, contractors, end users. They're going to have an impact on all responsible organisations that work in the explosive atmosphere industry. Now, since the start of the year, I've asked many of our clients and suppliers about the changes, and the only thing that I can say with certainty is that there is a lot of uncertainty about these changes. Some clients are making changes and implementing them, and other clients I've spoken to are not even aware that they exist. Now, Raytec are a UK-based manufacturer of light fittings for use in explosive areas. Thorne Derrick have worked with Raytec for a number of years. They're based locally here to us in the northeast, and they're well positioned and have had a very proactive approach to the changes. In fact, they are the first, one of the first lighting manufacturers to obtain the UKCA certification for their lighting products. And I think they're well positioned to deliver this webinar and share a lot of useful information. I think if nothing else, it'll help focus your minds on the upcoming changes and make you think about the effect that it's going to have on your organisations and your operations. Now, I should say the presentation by Raytec obviously focuses on lighting, but the theory and the potential impact can be applied to other EX products and equipment regardless of the manufacturer. Just a quick, and I'd like to encourage you all to use the chat function to ask questions, and as Callum said, there'll be a question and answer session at the end. I'd finally like to say that we will follow up the presentation with an email to get some feedback. So please expect to hear from us within the next couple of days. Thanks again for your time. Really hope it's useful, and I'll pass over to Jonathan now, who will deliver the webinar. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you very much for that introduction, Terry, and thank you for the introduction to Thorne Derrick. And I'd like to join everyone in welcoming you to this webinar, and thank you for attending today. My name is Jonathan Somerset, and I'm the product manager here at Raytec for the Hazardous and Industrial divisions. So as Terry said, the subject of today's webinar is UKCA marking, and in this webinar we try and cover everything that you might need to know in relation to hazardous lighting and the impact that it might have on our industry. So let's take a look at the agenda for today's session. So first up, what is UKCA? What is it and why is it important? Then we'll look at how this new type of marking affects how you specify lighting in the UK, and what happens if you're buying lighting from a UK manufacturer. Then we'll look at what Raytec are doing on this particular subject. And finally, we'll have a Q&A session at the end where we'll try and answer any questions that you might have that comes up during this webinar. So UKCA, so following the UK's departure from the European Union, we entered into a transition period, which came to an end on the 31st of December 2020. So from the 1st of January 2021, the UKCA mark, which stands for United Kingdom Conformity Assessment, has replaced CE marking. And this basically just declares that the product conforms to all the applicable UK legislation to be placed on the market in England, Scotland and Wales. There is a separate requirement for Northern Ireland, which does continue to require CE marking, or in some particular circumstances, UKNI mark. So as Terry said, this affects all products that used to be subject to the EU directives that required CE marking. So this is the Radio Equipment Directive, EMC Directive, Low Voltage Directive, and it covers a huge number of different products, not just lighting. So we've learned that lighting is affected by these changes, and in particular, we're going to look at how this affects lighting for potentially explosive atmospheres. So in the UK, this was formerly covered by the requirements of the ATEX directive, which was 2014-34/EU. But this has now been replaced by the UK directive SI 2016 number 1107. So this is effectively a UKEX scheme. So anybody manufacturing EX lighting for the Great British market will have to make some changes to how their products are certified in order to be compliant in the future. So about timescales. So UKCA marking has been allowed on products put on the market in Great Britain since the 1st of January 2021. And in some particular circumstances, applying this mark is mandatory. So this is if the product's only intended for use on the GB market, and if that particular product's third-party conformity assessment has been done by a UK-approved body. In most circumstances, products currently on the market are in a grace period where the CE mark and ATEX directive is still going to be recognised in Great Britain, providing that the conformity of the product has been assessed by an EU 27 notified body. However, the advice is that UKCA mark should be applied to the products as soon as possible and absolutely must be in place before the 31st of December 2021. So this is when the grace period comes to an end, and from this date, only the UKCA mark will be recognised for products placed on the Great British market. So if you're specifying lighting for the GB market, let's just go over those key dates again. So between January this year and January next year, we're currently in a grace period where the UKCA mark is valid if conformity is assessed by a UK body, and also the CE and ATEX is also still valid as long as this conformity has been assessed by an EU 27 notified body. However, during this grace period, the UKCA mark is encouraged ASAP. After January 2022, the CE and ATEX mark will no longer be accepted in the UK, except in Northern Ireland. All goods placed on the market must be UKCA approved. If the product was placed on the GB market before this date, then they can still continue to circulate until they reach their end user. So that applies if you're purchasing or specifying for a project in Great Britain, but what if you're outside GB but buying a product from a UK manufacturer? So does UKCA affect me? Well, solely looking at the certification requirements, nothing has changed for you. So CE and ATEX are still required within the EU, and UKCA is not recognised outside of Great Britain. However, if you are purchasing directly from a UK manufacturer, there are some additional factors that you might need to consider due to Brexit. So the UK is now a third country outside of the European Economic Area. Therefore, customers in the EU buying from UK manufacturers in many circumstances are placing the product on the EU market for the very first time, and hence they are acting as an importer of goods into the European Union. So the responsibility of the importer includes verifying that the manufacturer has taken the necessary steps to allow the product to be placed on the EU market, that that particular product also complies with all the conformity requirements, that the product's correctly marked, and that all technical documentation is available to back up an EU declaration of conformity. Now, all of this should be readily available if the manufacturer has applied a CE mark to the product. And it's also worth noting that the reverse applies the other way around. So if you're a UK customer putting an EU product on the market in Great Britain for the first time, verification must be made that the UK legislation has been met by the UK importer. So it works both ways. So what are the requirements of obtaining UKCA approval? Well, the requirements of conformity assessment for UKEX are at this moment exactly the same as the latest editions of the 60079 series of standards. So these are the standards that used to be required for any product with ATEX certification. However, because an ATEX product could be certified to an old edition of the standard, so it could be certified to a standard that's 10 or even 15 years old, a UKCA assessment must be against the very latest versions of the 60079 series of standards. So that, and many things have changed over that time frame. It is also a requirement to have conformity assessed by a UK approved body, specifically for UKCA. And this is completely separate to any notified body assessment that has been conducted for ATEX. So let's have a look at the example of these changes that have happened over the years. So in that time frame, there have been changes to the Zone 2 standards, for instance. So old non-arcing conformity has been replaced with increased safety IECEx back in 2015. So the new requirements include more stringent impact requirements, and overall the requirements are very similar to that of a Zone 1 product, rather than the slightly uprated industrial product that EXNA was. So these technical requirements may actually be quite difficult for some products on the market to comply with, and some manufacturers may have to seriously consider the commercial opportunity for the GB market, with considerable cost of new certification and having to potentially update their product to meet the latest versions of the standards. So what should you consider as a specifier is, during this grace period, are you still specifying a product that is not UKCA approved? Well, if you are, then currently you're not doing anything wrong, as long as those boxes have been ticked that we discussed earlier. But is that product certified to old editions of the standard? Will that product still be available on the GB market after January 2022? And what about ongoing scope of works for your project? All of these things need to be considered. So what are we doing here at Raytec? I'll just fill you in on a few details of what we've been doing around UKCA. So at Raytec, we work very closely with our UK approved body to make sure that all our products are compliant and certified to the very latest versions of the standards. During the last few months, as Terry says, we've actually gone out and obtained UKCA approval for all of our product range, and we've been issued with new certificate numbers that are now being incorporated into our product literature, data sheets, declarations of conformity, our website, and all of our instruction manuals. So UKCA is being incorporated as we speak. What we plan to do in terms of marking is that our luminaires will be tri-rated. So the nameplate on one of our fittings will show both the UKCA mark and the CE mark, with certificate numbers for ATEX, UKEX, and IECEx on the same nameplate. So we're able to do this because we hold conformity assessments with both a UK approved body and an EU notified body. And our products conform to all the requirements of all three approvals. So we can offer a single product variant suitable for the GB market, the EU market, and the rest of the world. So the advice is to start applying the UKCA mark as soon as possible. And here at Raytec, we're not waiting for the end of the grace period to bring our products into line. From the 1st of June this year, luminaires ordered from Raytec will carry a UKCA mark, as well as the ATEX and IECEx mark. And any industrial products that are ordered will carry a UKCA and a CE mark on the same label. So this will be our introduction date for our standard product range. But if you need UKCA any earlier than that, then I really would encourage you to speak to us at Raytec, and we'll see what we can do for your particular project. So let's just go over those, summarize those slides again. So starting with the changes that affect everyone. From the 31st of December, you must use a UKCA approved product on the market in Great Britain. The advice is to start specifying UKCA approved products ASAP. And changes to the UK-EU trading relationship means that all this also affects those installing products outside of the UK. And it is not a given that all luminaires or manufacturers will obtain or even seek to obtain UKCA marking. And lastly, what we're doing here at Raytec, so we will be try-rating all of our products with UKCA, ATEX and IECEx. So it'll be suitable for all markets except North America. And UKCA marking will be standard on our products ordered from the 1st of June this year. So thank you very much for listening to those slides, and we'll now open up to any questions that you might have. We'll try and answer them.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. So yeah, we'll come to the Q&A now. We'll turn our webcams on so you can put some faces to the voices and names. So as well as Terry and Jonathan, who you've obviously spoken to or been introduced to, we've also got Andy Oliver here, who is the regional sales manager for Raytec for UK and Ireland. So thanks for the questions who have already come in. Just a reminder that if you go to the questions section of your control panel, you can type any questions in there. So please get those in and we'll try to answer those. There's been a few questions about whether we'll make the slides and recordings available. So yeah, the webinar today has been recorded. As Terry mentioned earlier, Thorne Derrick will be following up with you a couple of days after this, so I'm sure they can include the slides and a copy of the recording, which so you can watch it back in your own time as well. So thanks for the comments on that. One of the questions that we did have in advance was how will I know if luminaire is UKCA approved? Drew wants to pick that one up.
Yeah, so I can answer that one. So as I said in the slides, to obtain UKCA approval, your product does have to be certified to the latest versions of the standards, and any approved body will issue a UKEX certificate. So as you've currently got an IECEx certificate and an ATEX certificate, there'll also be a UKEX certificate to go alongside that. So they'll have to have 3 different certificates for your product. And any labeling on the product will also carry a UKCA mark. So it'll be on the packaging label, it'll be on any labels attached to the product as well.
Great, thank you, Jonathan. We had another question from Hugh, who asks about the end date of December 2021. Does it apply to purchase or installation if you're located in the mainland UK?
Yeah, I can pick that one up as well. So the advice that we've been given is that after the 31st of December, it's a UKCA mark has to be on any product put onto the market in Great Britain. So that is the first transaction between the manufacturer and a distributor or a customer after the 31st of December. If your product has been placed on the market before the 31st of December, then it can continue to circulate on the market until it reaches its end user. So if you're installing a product after the 31st of December, then you just have to make sure it was placed on the market before the 31st of December. So that's any transaction between a manufacturer or a distributor or an end user.
Great, thank you. Another question here from Richard. Richard state, we are a UK company selling to another UK company. They will be selling the equipment to end users who are not in the UK. I assume that UKCA is not required in this case.
In that case, no, UKCA is not required. It's only if the product is going to be installed in the UK. So all the same certification is still required for any goods leaving the UK. So CE mark and ATEX mark for any EU countries, and IECEx for any non-EU countries.
Great. I suppose that there are a few little anomalies and different routes to market like that. So I think if you have got any doubt, then please just reach out to us and we can try and look into it for you, clarify it if you've got any special cases.
Absolutely.
Another question from a different Richard this time. Who would you advise using to obtain UKCA?
Well, there are a list of UKCA approved bodies. So whereas a lot of the notified bodies based in the UK prior to January 2020, they were ATEX notified bodies that have now become UKCA approved bodies. So there's a slight difference in the name of them. So going from a notified body to an approved body, but all of those notified bodies automatically became UKCA approved bodies, and you can go to any of those to try and obtain your UKCA certification. At Raytec,
sorry to jump in, just worth adding, I think there is a list on the UK Gov website of those authorised bodies, if they do want to go and find a list of people who can do that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great, thank you both. Question from Phil. He says, when you say placed on the market, what do you mean by that? So I think that term placed on the market does crop up quite a lot in terms of in the guidance. John, can you perhaps clarify what that means?
I can try and clarify. It's a bit of a legal statement, isn't it? Placed on the market. So that is the advice from government. So any product that's placed on the market, and as far as we can tell, that is any transaction between a UK manufacturer and any other user. So as long as money has changed hands for that particular product, then it is on the market. So any product that's sitting on a shelf at a distributor that is still owned solely by the manufacturer, then that is not placed on the market. If any product is on the shelf at a distributor that has been paid for by the distributor, then that is on the market, is our understanding.
Again, that's a question that I've had quite a lot, and even asked ourselves, and what that terminology means. So in leaving the manufacturing and transaction has taken place, so the goods moving from Raytec to Thorne Derrick, and we pay for the goods, those goods are then on the UK market. So we could buy in a huge amount of stock on the 31st of December with ATEX approval and continue to sell that throughout 2022 without any issues. Certainly not what we intended to do, but that was one question that was put to us. And that went on to the question of us being asked of us about spares and being permitted to sell spares for non-UKCA certified products post 31st of December 2021. Over to you, Jonathan.
So in terms of spares, I mean, we have a commitment for all of our products to be able to support and supply spares for those products. So it's almost equivalent to a product being made obsolete. You're still required to support and provide spares for that product. So we'll still be able to provide spares for any products going forward beyond December 2021. That's not an issue.
Great, thanks very much. Question from Gary Moore for clarification, who just says, so ATEX will continue to be recognised in Europe but not in the UK from January 2022.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and the UK, as I said, the UK has been split a little bit by Brexit. So UKCA applies to England, Scotland, and Wales. C still applies to Northern Ireland because of the Northern Ireland Protocol and Brexit trade deal. So yeah, ATEX still required in Northern Ireland, or in certain circumstances UKNI, which is a completely separate mark to UKCA and CE.
Okay, thank you. Question from Nigel, will we need all 3 certs? So I'm presuming that's ATEX, IECEx and UKCA. Will we need all 3 certs for operation in the UK?
You don't need all 3 certs, no. From the 31st of December 2021, so that's that key date that we keep saying, from that date only UKCA applies in Great Britain, so England, Scotland and Wales. So you don't need ATEX beyond that date. But one of the reasons that Raytec are try rating our products is so that the same variant can be sold anywhere in the world. There's no requirement to have different variants for different parts of the world. If you can try rate it, then that's all the better.
Great, thank you.
I think it's worth pointing out that Raytec as a UK manufacturer obviously have an invested interest in the UK market and the rest of Europe and the rest of the world. Perhaps the message I've been trying to get across to end users is that there are manufacturers outside of the UK who may deem it not financially viable to obtain UKCA certification, and therefore their products will no longer be available on the UK market. So you may well be specifying products this year or have products on site this year that you will no longer be able to purchase next year. So for moving forward on your plant and operations, to have to keep equipment the same for spares, repairs, operational costs, there is a potential that next year you will find yourself with some equipment on site that you can no longer purchase because it does not have a UKCA certificate.
Great, thank you, Terry. I think this question from Hugh is very similar to that previous one about requiring all 3. Will the UK Hazardous equipment certificates be referenced as UKCA EX certificates or UKCA or UKCA, sorry, UKCE or UKCA certificates just for purchasing references? So there's a few different terms in terms of UKEX or UKCA. Do you want to give a little bit more clarification on the uses of those markings?
I can try, yeah. So CE mark is a mark that declares that your product conforms to all the necessary legislation, and ATEX is sort of within CE as a conformity to any potentially explosive atmospheres. So the equivalent applies to UKCA. So UKCA can be found on any number of different products, so lighting, radio equipment, all sorts of different products, but UKEX is specific to products for potentially explosive atmospheres. So any certificate that is being issued for UKCA approval will have UKEX within that certificate number, as an ATEX equipment currently has ATEX within the certificate number.
Great, thank you. Still quite a few questions. I'm just trying to get through them all, so apologies, haven't read yours out yet. Question from Mohammed, who just asked for the main requirements for getting UKCA approval.
So at the moment, as I said in the slides, the current standards between UKCA and ATEX, the standards are currently the same. So as long as your product is certified to the very latest versions of the 60079 series of standards, then in all likelihood you will be able to apply for UKCA. The only issue is that the conformity assessment, third-party mandatory conformity assessment, has to be done by a UK approved body. So that's separate to any EU27 notified body. So you need 2 separate bodies, 2 separate certificates for UKCA and ATEX. And as I say, critical that it's up to the very latest versions of the standards. So there is that potentially cost implication and design implication as well for the products.
Okay, Thank you. Question from Arun. Please let me know, are there any changes in temperature ratings for UKCA certified products? So I suppose this could apply to temperature ratings or any changes in spec. Can we clarify whether that's an issue to be concerned about?
In all likelihood, because the requirements of the standards are at the moment the same, then in all likelihood all ambient temperatures and certifications will be pretty much identical between ATEX and UKCA because those standards are the same. Moving forward into the future, those two standards may deviate from each other, but at the moment they are the same standard.
Okay. Thank you. Next one is from Phil. In your experience with compliance to EN 60079, was the issuing of UKCA EX approval simply a paperwork exercise by the UK approved body?
As long as your ATEX certificates are up to date, then they can be used as a reference by a UK approved body. It depends on the relationship between the ATEX notified body that did the third-party assessment and the UK approved body that you choose to do your UKCA third-party assessment. So it's entirely down to the approved body.
Okay. There's a question from Scott. It's a bit further in terms of the terms placing on the market. So I'll read this out. I'm not sure if we require any further clarification, but Scott asks, we've discussed the first transaction between the manufacturer and the customer, i.e. when money changes hands, marking a product being placed on the market. So considering larger value equipment with milestone payments, would the first transaction mark the product being placed on the market or payment in full for the item? I'm not sure if this is something we've come across before. Again, I suppose it's going into a bit more detail and complexities, but I'm not sure if that's anything we're aware of at this moment.
For me, it's not something I'd considered. So a partial payment for goods, it's a difficult legal sort of question that I think we'll have to take advice and get back to you on that one if that's possible.
Yeah, we can have a look at that for you, Scott, and then we can provide some feedback to you. Just going through the final ones now. Question from Jeffrey. It sounds like the solution would be to try rate all equipment, but moving forward, how will this affect periodic inspections without having installed date of equipment without the UKCA marking?
Going forward, so yeah, as you say, try rating is what Raytec plan to do for any goods. That's why we're implementing UKCA from the 1st of June. So we're not waiting until the end of the grace period to start putting UKCA on our products, because we want to give plenty of time for those products to circulate on the market and not waiting until the very last day of 2021. And ongoing in terms of maintenance schedules, then as long as you have key dates when those goods were installed, then the maintenance schedule's no different to any ATEX or IECEx equipment that you may have.
Thank you. Last couple now. A question from Graham. Will UK approved bodies also be able to issue an ATEX certificate?
No, the answer is no. So if you're currently, so that's one of the requirements of the grace period that we're currently in. So if your product is currently CE marked with an ATEX certificate, then that third-party approval has to be done by an EU27 notified body to still be compliant on the market right now. So it's a requirement to transfer any QAN and QAS that you have across to a EU27 notified body to still be compliant right now. Going forward next year, UKCA must be third-party assessed by a UK approved body, and ATEX has to be third-party approved by a EU notified body. So yeah, they can't issue each of the certificates.
Okay, just a clarification. Question from Mohammed. Does UKCA require LM80 reports for approval?
UKCA, no, at the moment. Well, in terms of UKEX, that's not a requirement. So, so in terms of UKCA for an industrial product, then LM80, LM79 is a nice to have, but they are currently UL standards. So those are IES LM80 and IES LM79 reports. So it's not a requirement for UKCA, but it is a nice to have.
Okay, thank you. It's a question from Reese, quite a long one. Reese, if it's okay, we might come back to you on that one and just clarify offline, because I think it's a bit of a, again, looks quite a complex one, so it might be best to come back to you on that one. But if anything else we can help you with, just let us know, but we will make a note of that. So I think that's most of the questions now that we've had in. So what we'll do is we'll turn our cameras off in a second, but we'll stay on at the end if there's any more questions that you want us to go through, in case there's any late ones. So I think just from me, just to say thanks for attending. John, if you want to go at the final slide, we'll have our contact details on there. So if anyone does want to reach out, you can get in touch with us. There's Terry's details on there, as well as Andy's from Raytec. But I think just for me, thanks for attending. Hopefully you found it useful. Terry, I don't know if you want to say any final statement from you.
Yeah, again, thanks to everyone for attending. If there are some questions, or if anyone would be interested in a follow-up webinar in a bit more detail, it's something that we would be willing to look into doing perhaps in a month's time. We have got a transition period at 12 months, and we are trying to transition ourselves as a company, but we are there to help our customers and our suppliers, if we can, on the transition to UKCA. But thanks everyone for your time.
Yeah, great. Thanks very much, and bye for now.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Cheers.